Hi guys, this is Hirosaki. This story is all about what if Naruto had the blood of both Shinto Greek gods. Naruto Uchiha, the son of Hades, grandson of the Amaterasu, and great-grandson of the Chaos. Dark Naruto, smart Naruto. Find out here. Welcome aboard. Chapter 1. End is a new beginning. In the hidden village of Leaf, Kanahagakure, the ninja was torn apart as the great Kyubi no Kitsune was attacking on people. It was a powerful demon. A single swing of one of its 9 tails would raise tsunamis and flatten mountains. It used his tails to destroy larger groups and some unlucky ninjas. The ninja's jutsu and weapons seemed to have no effect to him. It raised chaos and had caused the deaths of many, until the leader of Konoha, the Yondaime Hokage, arrived. The Yondaime Hokage is here. A random Jounin shouted from out of nowhere, and a giant frog jumped into the battlefield. Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze, was a tall, fair-skinned man. He had bright blue eyes and spiky blonde hair. He was wearing standard Konoha-nin uniform with 2 bands each on both of his sleeves, a flak jacket and a forehead protector and sandals. He was wearing standard Konoha-nin uniform with 2 bands each on both of his sleeves, a flak jacket and a forehead protector and sandals. He looked at Bundle at Sandaime Hokage hands as he started flying through the hand seals. "Forgive me," he said in sad tone and completed his last hand seal. "Seal!" he shouted, and then everything went white. 5 years later. "Get back here, you damn demon!" Someone from the mob shouted at the small boy. He had bright blonde hair, blue eyes and 3 whiskers like marks on each cheek. His name was Naruto and was running away from an angry mob. Why do they always chase me on my birthday? Why do they call me demon? 5-year-old Naruto thought. He continued to run away, until he reached a dead end. He turned to face his tormentors and let the heaven above to decide his fate. At least, he closed his eyes. "If I die here, I'll be free from the torture." The mob cracked a grin as they approached the boy. Before they could do anything, many human skeletons rose from the ground and started attacking on the mob. People started running away in panic. There were some experienced shinobis in the mob. They realized it was a genjutsu. Someone dispelled genjutsu, but it was too late for them. Naruto was nowhere on the site. In unknown house, Naruto felt no pain, so he opened his eyes. He found himself in an unknown room. The room was a large that could easily fit 50 or 60 people, with a large, ornate iron spiral staircase leading up to the 2nd and 3rd floors. The room littered with paintings, vases, sets of armor, and other items from across the known world, each meticulously organized and catalogued. On the right side was a large archway about 1/3 of the way toward the staircase, and past that, a sliding door that easily blended into the wall if you weren't looking for it. Looking around, he saw a large painting on the wall. It was a painting of a young woman wearing a red variant of the Konoha Jounin's uniform, and she was the most beautiful being that he had ever seen. She had alabaster skin that contrasted with her long and dark onyx hair, and a vibrant smile that would light up the darkest and stormiest of days. Naruto didn't know why, but for some reason he could not stop the tears that ran down his face as he gazed at the photo. Who is she? Naruto thought. It is your mother's picture. Who are you? Where are you? How? Look behind. He looked behind and saw Raven there. It was bigger than any normal raven in size and had blood-red eyes. You can talk. It flew above him and landed front of the picture. It is ninja thing. My name is Karasu. Karasu said. Is it really my mother's picture? Yes, but she is dead. She looked at his sad face. She loved you. She left you her letter. Naruto looked at the letter. It was beside his mother's picture. Do you know read and write? Karasu asked. Yes, masked men have taught me this. Masked men? Karasu thought. Naruto looked at his mother's letter. As he unfolded it, noticed that it's dotted with smudges. The smudges he realized were tears. Dear son, my name is Uchiha Hitomi and your mother. I waited so long just to see you and to hold you in my arms, and now I have taken away from you. I don't know if I did something to anger Kami in my life or some earlier life to have her take me away from you. I hope you can forgive me for not being there. It hurts so much to know that I won't be able to be there for you, to see you grow up, to see you get married, and to see my grandbabies, to not be there for your birthday and to experience Everything that you go through with you. I had put so much effort into those training schedules and the jutsus on the scrolls. I was hoping that we could have done them together when you had gotten older, but it seems that you will just have to teach them yourself. It's nearly time for me to go, but before I go, one last piece of advice. You don't have to be in Konoha to be great. I know my share of hardships, so I know what I'm talking about. You don't have to stay, you can explore the world, learn new things, become what you want to become. I know the hardships and suffering that one can endure in life, so son, my one request to you is to live your life to the fullest and never give until the end, even if you have to leave this village to do so. I wanted to tell you many things, but I don't have time. I know you have many questions. Karasu will explain you this entire thing. This is goodbye, my son. I've left my diary along with some of the pictures. Good luck and goodbye, my son. Your mother, Uchiha Hitomi. Naruto looked at Karasu, asked in confusion. My mother's last name was Uchiha, then why my last name is Uzumaki? It was Yandame's wife's last name. Sandame Hokage gave this name for you to honor of their sacrifice. Karasu said. Sacrifice? What do you mean? Now or never, Karasu thought. Did you know how Yandame killed Kyuubi? Naruto nodded. Well, that is lie. Karasu said. She told him the story. And, we know the story. How Kyuubi freed by Tobi. Only different is that Minato and Kushina's son was born dead. Kushina died because of Kyuubi extraction. Also, trauma she had felt after the death of her only child. I am third Jinchuriki of Kyuubi no Yoko. This is only because that man, Tobi. Naruto said angrily as his whole body surrounded in a thick black chakra. The aura and oppressive weight of his chakra were even more sinister than the Kyuubi. His appearance changed. His hair turned blonde to midnight black. His skin tone became pale white, his nose and facial shape changed. The most shocking thing was his eyes, they had a red 9-point star with a black background in them. Karasu shocked to his new appearance. And, imagine 5 years old younger Madara. Karasu looked at him and said, you look just like your mother. Hush. What do you mean? Naruto asked. Look at yourself in a mirror. Naruto walked toward the large mirror that was hanging in the hall. Looking in the mirror, he shocked to see his reflection, specifically his eyes. How? He asked. Sarutobi Hiruzen, Sandame Hokage placed Hen's seal on you. He had originally expected to use it to have you be praised as a hero to the people, and sadly, it didn't work. Karasu said. What about my eyes? This is Mangekyo Sharingan. It is an advanced form of the Sharingan. I will tell you about it later. Do you know how to use chakra? Naruto nodded in agreement. Come with me. I have one question. How turn them off? Naruto asked. Just stop channeling your chakra to your eyes. Karasu said, and she started flying. Naruto cut off the chakra flow to his eyes and they turned to dark blue color. Interesting, he has dark blue eyes, it's not black like Uchiha. Karasu thought. Do you know who my father is? Naruto asked hopefully. No, master never told me about him. Karasu said. Sorry, where are we? Is he trying to change the subject? Karasu thought. We are in the Valley of the End, where Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha fought for control of the Konoha village. In this place, Hashirama won battle and Madara believed to have died. We are behind Madara statue. There is secret door of this place. Karasu said. Now, we are going to meet someone. Who? Your grandfather. Just follow me, you will know very soon. Soon they came front of the large door of the mansion. Naruto opened the door and entered the room. It was big, made from stone, and had weird symbols drawn on the floor and the wall. Karasu looked at Naruto and said, drop your blood on the seal. Naruto noticed there was largest symbol in center of room. He bit his thumb and dropped some blood on it. Now, channel yours chakra on it. When he did, the seal was lit up with bright light and a white coffin rose from the ground. When the coffin door opened, he saw a tall man. He had long, spiky waist-length black hair with a blue tint. He was wearing a blue suit and gloves with red samurai-like armor. Who is he? Naruto asked in confusion. He is a blood clone of Uchiha Madara, your grandfather. Karasu said. Madara came out of the coffin and looked at Naruto and asked, "Who are you?" His tone was cold. I am Naruto was too afraid to say anything to him. "He is Hitomi's son and your grandson," Karasu said to Madara. "My grandson?" Madara looked at Naruto. "He looks just like me when I was his age. The only difference is our eyes. His eye color is dark blue, while mine is black." Madara thought. "What is your name?" Madara asked. His tone was now soft. "Yuzu Uchiha Naruto." Naruto said. "Where is your mother?" Madara asked. Naruto looked down sadly. "She is dead," Karasu said. She told him the story. Madara's eyes changed in an eternal Manjikyu Sharingan form. He released a large amount of killing intent. Those lowlifes, weakling, how dare they? If real I would still alive, and then Konoha would nothing but ashes. He had controlled his anger and looked at Naruto with a soft gaze. "But I don't have time for them. I am here to train my grandson." He reached out his right hand and put it on Naruto's head. He smiled at him. "Are you ready for your training?" "I am ready, Grandpa," Naruto said as his eyes changed in Manjikyu Sharingan. Mangekyo Sharingan? At this young age, Madara smiled. "He is truly my grandson." 7 years later, Madara was watching his 12-year-old grandson who was practicing his kata above lake water. "That is enough, Naruto," he shouted over his grandson. Naruto stopped practicing and came out from the lake, in front of Madara. "You have completed your training, Naruto. There is nothing more I can teach you. Now, this is the time to give you my goodbye gift," Madara said. Naruto looked at his grandfather and asked, "What kind gift?" "You have already given me part of Hashirama Senju power. I am giving you my power, my real eyes, my Sharingan." Konoha Academies. Alright everyone, again I congratulate you on graduating from the academy. You are now real ninjas of this village and this isn't training anymore. Remember what you learned and you'll be fine. I expect you to do your duties with utmost diligence and not to dishonor your village. From now on you'll be placed into teams of 3 under the tutelage of your Jonin sensei. Team 1. Irika has begun droning as Sasuke's fans waited who among them will end up on his squad. There were a lot of possibilities. Team 7 under Jonin Hatake Kakashi, Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke. Irika winced as the little banshee screamed in victory, and Uzumaki Naruto. Zero Valley of the N0, Naruto stared at the Sasuke. It was silent for a few moments. "So then, Dobe. You and me, fighting each other like Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara." Sasuke chuckled. Interesting to see that history repeats itself. Naruto scoffed at those words. "Except there's one major difference between you and Madara. You Madara was an exceedingly calm person and strong." He smirked lightly. "You are far from that point." Sasuke scowled at Naruto with anger. "Chidori, 1,000 birds," Sasuke yelled. He had his hand covered in lightning as he charged at Naruto who stood there with a bored look. "Die Dobe." The lightning attack was mere inches from his heart when Naruto grabbed his wrist, sent out a chakra burst that stopped the chirping bird's attack. "Kakashi never really taught you proper use of assassination techniques, did he?" He slammed his knee upwards on Sasuke's elbow. He cried out in pain hearing a crack. He didn't stop as he roundhouse kicked Sasuke in the head and sent him skidding across the water top. He sighed to himself as he walked atop the water. "This is the difference in our strength, Sasuke. You are weak." He held his hand and formed a black ball of chakra. Rasengan. Konoha Council Rooms. Naruto entered in the council chambers. "You wish to speak to me?" he asked in a cold tone. This caught several people in the council off guard, especially Tsunade. This was not like the usual loud, hyperactive young ninja, who always wore a smile no matter what happened. "What's wrong with you, Naruto?" He's not himself, something must have happened. "I'll have to ask when we're done here," thought Tsunade. Elder Council member Mitokado Hamura answered him. "Yes, we summoned you here," he said. "The council has finished reading the reports that were given to us by you and your teammates, the Suna team, as well as Rock Lee and your sensei, Hatake Kakashi's report. Although we're pleased that a mission of this level was successfully completed by a freshly ordained Shunin and a team of 4 genin, We have some concerns about the reports on the battle between you and your teammate Uchiha Sasuke. He continued, peering at Naruto over the rim of his glasses. So, the time has come. What concerns? Naruto asked. What has us concerned is the fact that you used a large amount of the Kyuubi's chakra in your battle, and caused much destruction to the Valley of the Inn. This time Elder Council member Uchiha Kohara said. We have no choice. Uzumaki Naruto, we have to tell you. The council has decided that you shall be banished from Konoha immediately. The Warhawk Danzo said with a scowl as he said the word banished. He clearly wanted a harsher punishment for the young Jinchuriki. At this Tsunade blew up. You can't do that, you old decrepit fools. The Uchiha tried to kill him. We have a report straight from Kakashi. Tsunade screamed. There is nothing left to discuss, Hokage-sama. The council has made its decision, and it is the last. Daze said with a smirk. Naruto looked at the council and said, you all are bunch idiots. You can't speak with us like that. You do, one civilian council member tried to say, but before he could complete this sentence, he killed by kunai in his heart. Everyone saw second Naruto was standing behind dead member with the bloody kunai in his hand and he disappeared with a flock of crows. This caught all people in the council off guard, especially Sannin. Pathetic Konoha council, Naruto said. They all saw his whole body surrounded in a thick black chakra. Its aura and oppressive weight were even more sinister than the Kyuubi. They shocked when his look changed. He looks just like younger Madara, all elders thought. I think it is time to give you my real introduction. I am Uchiha Naruto, the son of Uchiha Hitomi, and true descendant of Uchiha Madara. Naruto said with a smirk. One foolish Umbu tried to attack him, but a Susanoo-o's hand caught him in midair. Foolish. He said as black fire appeared from Susanoo-o's hand, it wrapped around Umbu and turned him ash. Naruto looked toward the council. His eyes changed in an eternal Manjikyu Sharingan form. He released a large amount of killing intent. If Konoha will be ever attacked, then don't hold any hope, I will come help you. With that he disappeared in swirling of the vortex. Shinra Tensei. Devapath shouted and destroyed a big part of Konoha with his gravity jutsu. You are the 6 paths of pain, Akatsuki's leader. Naruto said as he appeared behind Devapath. So, you have come to save your village, but it is too late now. Konoha is nothing but Devapath tried to say. You're mistaken, I am not come to save them. Devapath, surprised at his statement. I am here to kill you. He said and his eyes turned purple with rings on them. Devapath said in a shocked tone, Rinnegan. Naruto pointed his hand toward Devapath and said calmly, Shinra Tensei. Naruto looked down at his fallen foe that was dying slowly from his wounds. It's over for you, Tobi. You have already lost the battle. Tobi was looking him with hate and anger. Jubi power will never be yours. Your plan rule on the world has already failed. He looked at Tobi with his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. I only pity you, Amaterasu, he said as Blackfire wrapped around Tobi and turned him ash. He disappeared and reappeared front of Geto Mizo. Naruto looked toward the statue. It was a giant, humanoid entity. Its back had several spike-like protrusions. It was wearing some form of a robe. So, this is Geto Mizo, he said. His Sharingan eyes turned purple with ripple-like pattern in them, the Rinnegan. He gathered all his chakra and poured it all directly into his Rinnegan. He removed his black Umbu armor for exposing the seal on his stomach. He sat down on Geto Mizo and brought his hand on the seal. Release, he shouted as the seal on his stomach distorted. Naruto formed a hand seal. Yura Shisho Fuinjutsu, he called as 4 symbols had formed around him. A spirit like 9 black dragons came out from his body and moved toward Jubi's stone prison, the moon. Chakra started to swirl around his body. Seal, he finished hand seals with dragon sign. He pulled all Tailbeast's chakra and Jubi's body into the seal. With a blast of black chakra it was over. Yandame Reikage stopped suddenly and snapped his gaze up towards the nearby river. His eyes widened at the levels of chakra he was sensing and quickly turned towards the rest of Alliance Force. Everyone gets down, he shouted, and the place engulfed in a massive black chakra dome. What is that? Anoki shouted in surprise as it shredded everything it touched and tried to draw them in. I think that's Naruto. Gaara shouted back. A moment later the ball exploded in a massive blast of wind, knocking all of them down. After a moment of silence everyone managed to stand once more, albeit with effort. They looked at the surroundings. They all froze with the fear when they found Black Dragon in front of them. They saw he was looking at them with his strange red eyes. His red eyes looked like a perfect mixture between Sharingan and Rinnegan. They had 4 Rinnegan-like rings with 9 Sharingan-like Tomo in them. Suddenly a black portal opened in the sky, Dragon flew up there and disappeared in it. What was that? Godane Mizukage, Mei Terumi asked with slight fear in her voice. We don't know. Yandame Reikage said. He looked at the surroundings. I think 4th Shinobi War is finally over and we have won this war. He told everyone. What happened with all Biju? Sandame Tsuchikage, Anoki asked. And Naruto? Mei asked. Biju, they are gone forever, and Naruto Gaara looked at the sky. They saw the familiar black bird followed Dragon and entered the portal before portal would close. He is very much alive. Naruto's body was floating in endless darkness. Suddenly a lone figure approached to him and held up his unconscious body in the bridal style. You have completed your work here. It is time I take you to your second home, my great-grandson. The figure said to Naruto. Suddenly 2 familiar figures appeared beside him and they were Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Hitomi. Goodbye son, Hitomi kissed on Naruto's forehead. She looked at the figure. Please take care of him grandfather. She asked. I taught you everything I know. This is goodbye. Madara said to Naruto's unconscious body. We also want to give something to him. A voice said from the darkness. They quickly turned and saw 2 figures. First one was a beautiful woman with long raven black hair, rich pink eyes and had creamy-colored skin. She dressed in what looked like a white traditional kimono. Second figure was tall, at very least he was 10 feet tall, his body was a rotting sickly gray color with black rune or perhaps seal-like markings over what was visible of his left hand and forearm. Sharp obsidian black nails, onenju or Japanese prayer beads wrapped around his left hand/wrist, his face resembled a Hanya mask, a pair of horns flowing out of its long spiky white hair, a knife sheathed in its razor-sharp obsidian black fangs, a pair of demonic eyes glaring down at them, the sclera and pupil both a deep obsidian black while the iris was a brilliant golden color, and a long white robe the only thing covering its body, yet left his chest and some of his navel in full view. Kamisama, Shinigami-sama, Madara asked, what are you 2 doing here? We are here to meet the child of prophecy. Shinigami said. Kami walked next toward Naruto. She looked at Naruto's face and said, he is cute. She opened her hand and summoned a small white ball of light. She sent it toward Naruto. It absorbed in him and small purple-colored diamond mark appeared on his forehead. What is this? Hitomi asked as she pointed diamond mark in Naruto's forehead. My gift, he has darkness power, it is the light power from me. This will help him to balance his power. Kami answered and disappeared in a flash. Now my gift, Shinigami raised his hand on air. With flash, black katana appeared in his hand. Then it turned into a black ball of light. It absorbed in Naruto and kanji of dead, appeared on his left shoulder. Use my gift wisely. He said and disappeared in black flash. Mysterious figure looked at Madara and Hitomi. This is time to go. He said. Both of them nodded and disappeared in darkness. He looked Naruto with a smile and disappeared in flash with him. Naruto slowly opened his eyes and looked around the place. He found himself in a small apartment. Where am I? He thought. Karasuchan, where are you? He asked telepathically. I am here, Master Naruto. Karasu answered as she entered the room from the window. Where are we? Naruto asked. We are not in Element Nation and I think we are in another dimension. Karasu said. He noticed a scroll addressed to him and asked, what is this? Dear Naruto, I am your great-grandfather as for my name you will know very soon. I am still alive. Don't worry though, we will meet in time. When the time comes, I will be happy to see you. Also, in your journey, you will meet your other family. You notice you are not in Element Nation. You are in a different dimension. It is your second home. You are in a place called the United States, more specifically New York City, New York. There is another thing you noticed about yourself. If you haven't noticed, then look at yourself in a mirror. There are some changes in your because of Jubby. There is a seal at the bottom of the scroll. You will find all that you need in this world, and that includes money. Also, there is some important information about your gift. Oh, just for a reference for the future, get a book on Greek mythology. You will need that info, trust me. Be careful, my great-grandson. One more thing, visit your inner world. You will get all answer of your question there. Your great-grandfather. Naruto looked at Karasu. Karasu-chan, is anything different about me? He asked. I thought you knew. Karasu answered. What do you mean? Look at yourself in a mirror. Naruto stood up and moved toward front of a mirror in the apartment. He notices short fangs in his mouth, and slightly slitted pupils in his eyes. He saw small purple-colored diamond mark on his forehead and kanji of dead in his left shoulder. He looked like his 10-year-old younger selves. What is this? Is some kind seal? Naruto thought and sent small chakra in left shoulder. With black flash, katana appeared in his left hand. He started to check katana. It was totally black, the sharp and given aura of the dead. More important things were kanji of Shinigami written on the main blade, and black dragon with strange red eyes on the katana's handle. Interesting, Karasu said. And deadly, Naruto said, and katana disappeared with black flash. He took the letter and dropped some blood on a seal. With puff smoke many scrolls appeared. What really caught his attention was black bracelet. He took the bracelet and looked closely at it. It was in black color with golden design and some words written on it. All words were written in an unfamiliar language by gold. Delta epsilon nu upsilon pyroke epsilon iota tapayami cranto alpha kappa alpha lambda, tapayami cranto alpha kappa. Nu omicron sigma eta mu alpha nu to iota kappa epsilon nu alpha iota eta iota sigma omicron rho omicron pi alpha. Which language is it? He thought. Suddenly he saw words started to arrange in familiar language. There is nothing good, nothing bad, only important is balance. Okay, that is weird. Naruto thought. He took the bracelet and wore it on his left bicep. What now? Karasu asked. Naruto sat down for meditation and said, I am going to find my answer. He closed his eyes. Mindscape, it has really changed. Naruto said. Naruto saw his mindscape. It was nothing looks like a sewer. It was a deep forest with the strange moon. The moon was a blood red and had 4 concentric circles and 9 tomo in it. He looked around and found Black Dragon who had looked at him with his red eyes. His entire upper body covered in black scales which decorated by spiraling, blue markings. Its lower body, specifically its belly, inner tail and legs were gray in color. It has possessed a blunt, rounded head with 4 large and elongated plates which extended backwards. Its mouth was full of sharp teeth, and below it was an elongated protrusion pointing downwards. It was gargantuan multi-layered wings composed of the very same plates covering its whole body. Its massive tail was split in 2 at its end where the black plates disappeared and took on a double stinger-like appearance. His eyes looked like mixture between Sharingan and Rinnegan. They had 4 Rinnegan-like concentric circles with 9 Sharingan-like tomo. In the 3 circles closer to the pupil color was red. Naruto's eyes turned into an eternal Mangekyo Sharingan form. Who are you? He asked. Dragon heard this and answered his question. I am the manifestation of power which has existed in your body. I am the result of your and Jubi demonic power. Jubi was the harbinger of death and chaos. I am the deity of balance. What now? I am you. We are not different. You know what to do. Yes, I know, Naruto said and touched dragon scale. The dragon turned in a million shards of black energy. All energy entered his body. Real worlds. Naruto opened his exactly looked like the dragon's eyes. Jubi's eye. Yancy Academy. Hello, may I have your attention please? Before we begin today, I would like to introduce a new student that would be joining us. Please greet him warmly. A woman spoke to her class as they all quieted down. When she began speaking, none of them wanted to get detention or be assigned extra homework over the weekend. Seeing that all her students were giving her their undivided attention, she turned toward the door at the front of the room. You may come in now. With that 13-year-old teen entered the room walking toward the teacher's desk before facing all his new fellow classmates. He was tall, at least 5 feet 4 inches. He had pale skin with spicy, midnight black hair and dark eyes. He wore a pair of black shoes, black jeans, white shirt, and a black coat with hood. Hello everyone, my name is Naruto Uchiha. Chapter 2. Start a new adventure. It has been 3.5 years since Naruto arrived in this new land. Learning a new language had been surprisingly easy to him with his Sharingan. For him this world was more peaceful and advanced than Element Nation. This peace was boring, but it wasn't mean. He was going to slack off because of peace. He had trained every day to improve his skills. This was not all bad for him. He had met two interesting people in school. First was Percy Jackson. He was 12 and had black hair and sea green eyes. He had an odd energy signature. Percy hated school. His reason was that weird shit happened to him and that made a lot of people disliked him. Two of them get along very well. Then there was Grover Underwood. Through Percy, Naruto had met that boy. Grover had Caucasian skin color with short curly brown hair and brown eyes. The boy was a cripple because he was always seen with crutches. He was also a bit of a hippie, he thought, because of the fact that he barely ever ate meat and by the way he dressed. Though all in all, Grover was a very nice guy. Naruto heightened sense. Grover smelled like a goat while Percy strangely smelled like the ocean. Now, they were on a bus to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. They were taking a trip to learn about Greek mythology. Percy was wearing for today an orange shirt, blue jeans, and some black shoes. Grover, who was sitting right next to Percy, had his usual crutches, a yellow shirt and some oversized pants on that hid his shoes. As for Naruto, he was wearing a pair of black shoes, black jeans, white shirt, and a black coat with hood. Naruto looked at the scene that was happening in front of him. One of his classmates, Nancy Bobofit, the freckle, red-headed kleptomaniac girl, hitting Grover in the back of the head with chunks of peanut butter and ketchup sandwich, who was acting like nothing was happening to him. I'm going to kill her, Percy mumbled. Grover tried to calm him down. It's okay. I like peanut butter. He dodged another piece of Nancy's lunch. That's it. Percy started to get up, but Grover pulled him back to his seat. You're already on probation, Grover said. You know who'll get blamed if anything happens. Miss Bobofit, Naruto said, who thought it was right time to interface. Will you stop that? Why you care? You are not like those two losers, so why do you bother to help them? Nancy asked. Because they are better people than you are, Naruto said in a cold tone that sent chills down the girl's spine. Now stop or I will stop you. She paled and quickly nodded her head. Mr. Brunner led the museum tour. He was Latin teacher and was leading this trip. He was a middle-aged guy in a motorized wheelchair. He had thin hair and a scruffy beard and a frayed tweed jacket, which always smelled like coffee. He rode up front in his wheelchair, guiding class through the big echoey galleries, past marble statues and glass cases full of really old black and orange pottery. The class made their way into the museum as they walked past the giant pillars at the front of the museum, and Naruto couldn't help but notice how much Mr. Brunner and surprisingly Grover's face lit up when they saw all the Greek and Roman artifacts. Naruto looked at Percy, who was looking at some old stuff that was in good condition. Interesting, isn't it? Naruto asked to Percy. Percy turned back and saw Naruto. Yes, he answered. This stuff is really old, but it is important. Percy looked at Naruto oddly before shaking his head and said, I always forget that you like this stuff, I mean Greek mythology. Whatever, Naruto shrugged as they walked with the group to where Mr. Brunner had stopped. Besides, Mr. Brunner is under the assumption that we should both understand it all. Percy just rolled his eyes. They turned their attention to Mr. Brunner. They went quiet, listened to the guy tell them about the ancient gods and other stuff like that. He gathered all the students around a 13-foot-tall stone column with a big sphinx at the top, and started telling everyone how it was a grave marker, a steal, for a girl about their age. Mr. Brunner began to explain what the carvings on the sides meant and actually managed to catch Percy's attention because it was actually kind of interesting, but yet everyone else around him was talking and having their own conversations. Naruto looked at the other teacher chaperone, Miss Dodds, was giving Percy the evil eye. She was this little math teacher from Georgia who always wore a black leather jacket, even though she was 50 years old. She had come to Yancey halfway through the year. From her first day, Miss Dodds loved Nancy Bobofit. Her energy was odd. It is better I keep an eye on her, Naruto thought. Mr. Brunner kept talking about Greek funeral art. Finally, Nancy Bobofit snickered something about the naked guy on the stele, and Percy yelled at her, will you shut up? This was louder than usual. The whole group laughed at this. Mr. Brunner stopped his story. Mr. Jackson, he said, did you have a comment? No sir, Percy replied, embarrassed by his outburst. Mr. Brunner pointed to one of the pictures on the stele. Perhaps you'll tell us what this picture represents? He asked to Percy. Percy looked at the picture and said, that's Kronos eating his kids, right? Yes, Mr. Brunner said, obviously not satisfied. And he did this because, well. Percy said, Kronos was the king god, and, god? Mr. Brunner asked. Titan, Percy corrected himself. And, Naruto saw Percy have a hard time answering that question. So, he decided to intervene. He ate his kid because there was some prophecy telling him that his kids were going to take over one day like he did. So he ate his kids. Naruto explained, getting a sigh of relief from Percy. But his wife hid baby Zeus, and gave Rondos a rock to eat instead. Then when Zeus grew up, he tricked his dad, Rondos, into barfing up his brothers and sisters. You! All the girls behind them said. Then there was a big fight and the gods won. Naruto continued and finished the answer, getting a nod of approval from Mr. Brunner. Behind the two everyone heard a Nancy Bobofid mumble, like we're going to use this in real life. Like it's going to say on our job applications, please explain why Kronos ate his kids? And why, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Uchiha, Mr. Brunner said, do you have any answer for Miss Bobofit's excellent question? Does this matter in real life? Busted, Grover muttered. Shut up. Nancy barked at Grover, her face going redder than her hair. I don't know, Percy shrugged, a little relieved that Nancy picked as well. Maybe if we somehow met them, it is necessary for us to know them, Naruto said with a smirk, which made a lot of people laugh. He saw shocked faces of Mr. Brunner and surprisingly Grover. Do they know something I don't? I bet those two know something which related to Greek gods, Naruto thought and narrowed his at them. I see, Mr. Brunner said, well half credit to you both. Zeus did feed Kronos a mixture of mustard and wine, which made him disgorge his other 5 children, who of course, being immortal gods, had lived and growing up completely undigested in the Titan's stomach. The gods defeated their father, sliced him to pieces with his own scythe, and scattered his remains in Tartarus, the darkest part of the underworld. On that happy note, it's time for lunch. Miss Dodds, would you lead us back outside? The class drifted off, the girls holding their stomachs, the guys pushing each other around and acting like doofuses. Grover, Percy and Naruto were about to follow when Mr. Brunner said, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Uchiha. They told Grover to keep one going while they handled whatever he was going to say to them. Sir? Mr. Brunner had this look, like he knew a lot more than he let on and that had seen too much. You two must learn the answer to my question. About the Titans? Percy asked. About real life. And how your studies apply to it. Oh, Percy mumbled. What you boys learn from me, he started, is vitally important. I expect you to treat it as such. I will only accept the best from both of you, Percy Jackson, Naruto Uchiha. Naruto had sensed Percy's anger on the Mr. Brunner, so decided to answer his question. It is great, he said. Percy mumbled something about trying and they left to go eat. Percy goes ahead, I will meet you later, Naruto said. Where are you going? Percy asked. Some personal work, Naruto said. Percy nodded and walked away. Naruto saw no one was there and he disappeared into a swirling vortex. Percy joined Grover and they sat on the edge of a fountain. It was away from the others so they would not be bothered, and Percy didn't like being part of the school in the first place. You get detention again? Grover asked, looking at Percy. Nah, he said. Not from Brunner. I just wish he'd laid off me sometimes. I mean, I'm not a genius like Naruto. This thing they don't know their friend, he got best grade in the entire subject. He was good at all sports. Then what was he doing in lower class? So, where is he? Grover asked. He is doing his personal work, Percy answered. What kinds of personal work? I didn't ask him. Okay, Grover said, shrugging. Can I have your apple? Percy nodded and gave him an apple. They began to chat quietly about the trip and what they might be doing over the summer when Nancy Bobofit walked up to them with some of her goons behind and decided to dump her lunch onto Grover. Oops. She said, grinning with bits of cat stuck in her crooked teeth. Percy was angry and jumped and looked like he was about to hit her before Grover quickly grabbed and sat him back down. Don't. You will just get yourself into more trouble like you always do, Grover said. Percy, who did not look very convinced, sat back down, but his eyes didn't look away from Nancy Bobofit. Then something weird happened. The water from the fountain rose up and pushed her onto her butt. She fell into the water fountain, making a loud and audible splash, which caught the attention of everyone, including the teachers, with Miss Dodds making her way over. Miss Dodds, Percy just pushed me, she yelled. Percy heard some of the kids were whispering, "Did you see the water? Like it grabbed her." What they were talking about. All I knew was that I was in trouble again. When Miss Dodds was sure poor little Nancy was okay, promising to get her a new shirt at the museum gift shop, etc., etc. Percy thought. Miss Dodds turned on him and said, "Now, honey." "I know," he said, "a month erasing workbooks." "Come with me," Miss Dodds said. "Wait!" Grover yelped. "It was me. I pushed her." Percy, stunned that Grover was trying to cover for him. However, Miss Dodds was not buying it, and she leads Percy away back inside the museum, where Percy was most likely going to get another scolding and another detention. They were back in the Greek and Roman section. Except for them, the gallery was empty. Miss Dodds stood with her arms crossed in front of a big marble frieze of the Greek gods. She was making this weird noise in her throat, like growling. "You've given us problems, honey," she said to Percy. He looked at her and said, "Yes, ma'am." She tugged on the cuffs of her leather jacket. "Did you really think you would get away with it?" The look in her eyes was beyond mad. It was evil. She's a teacher, he thought nervously. It's not like she's going to hurt me. "I'll try harder, ma'am." Suddenly, thunder shook the building. "We are not fools, Percy Jackson," she said. "It was only a matter of time before we found you out. Confess, and you will suffer less pain." This made Percy look her odd. "Well, ma'am, I don't." "Your time is up," she said, and hissed ominously. Then the weirdness came. Her eyes began to glow like barbecue coals. Her fingers stretched, turning into talons. Her jacket melted into large, leathery wings. She wasn't human. She was a shriveled hag with bat wings and claws and a mouth full of yellow fangs. She was not human, that was for sure. "Miss Dodds?" "Whoa!" Percy saw his teacher turned monster. "Where is it?" she asked, and tried to attack on him, but somehow, he dodged her. He tried to run away from her. "I won't ask again." "Where is it? What the hell is she talking about?" Percy thought to himself. He brought out of his thoughts when he heard the screeching of wheels get closer to him. He looked over. He was surprised to see Mr. Brunner there in his wheelchair. "What ho, Percy!" Mr. Brunner shouted, and threw an item to him. Percy looked down to see what he caught and saw that he had a gold ballpoint pen in his hand. "What the hell am I supposed to do with a pen?" he shouted. Percy did not know what to do. So, he decided to twist the cap of the pen. Then pen suddenly became a bronze sword. "Whoa!" he said. Percy attacked shakily toward Miss Dodds. He simply swung the blade diagonally, hoping to wound her, but she dodged his attack, and before he could react, she hit him in his chest. This sent him toward the wall. "Die, honey!" Miss Dodds yelled as she spread out her wings and began to flap over towards him. Absolute terror ran through Percy's body. He closed his eyes, but when he felt no pain, he opened his eyes. "Ha!" He saw, a black blade was sticking out of the Miss Dodds' chest, and its handle was held by Naruto. Naruto yanked out katana of Mississippi Dodds' chest, and she exploded into yellow powder, vaporized on the spot, leaving nothing but the smell of sulfur. "Are you all right?" Naruto asked. His sword disappeared in black flash. Yes. When Percy tried to stand up on his feet, sharp pain emerged from his chest. "I think she broke my rib." "This will help you," Naruto said as he put his hand on Percy's chest. His hand started glowing in green, and Percy found that his pain was becoming less. How? "I will explain you later," Naruto said as he saw Percy's sword. "By the way, this is a nice weapon." "Now I know why people said that the pen is mightier than the sword." Percy looked back to his weapon and found his sword turned back in gold ballpoint pen. "Where did you get this pen?" Naruto asked. "From Mr. Brunner," Percy answered. So, Mr. Brunner gave this pen to Percy. "Let's go, Percy." I don't want to explain anyone about this mess, Naruto said. Back outside, it had started to rain. Grover was sitting by the fountain, a museum map tented over his head. Nancy Bobofit was still standing there, soaked from her swim in the fountain, grumbling to her ugly friends. When she saw me, she said, "I hope Miss Kerr whipped your butt." "Who?" Percy asked in confusion. "Our teacher, duh. We have no teacher whose name is Miss Kerr." Percy thought. He wanted to ask Nancy what she was talking about. She just rolled her eyes and turned away. He walked over to Grover and he gave him the same answer, but he was stuttering slightly, so Percy knew he was lying. Thunder boomed overhead. Percy saw Mr. Brunner sat under his red umbrella, reading his book, as if he'd never moved. He looked up, a little distracted. "Ah, that would be my pen. Please bring your own writing utensil in the future, Mr. Jackson," he said. Percy handed his pen. "Sir," he said, "where's Miss Dodds?" Mr. Brunner stared at him blankly. "Who?" "The other chaperone, Miss Dodds. The pre-algebra teacher." "Percy, there is no Miss Dodds on this trip. As far as I know, there has never been a Miss Dodds at Yancey Academy." "Are you feeling all right?" "What? You may have just got the Miss Kerr's name mixed up with someone else, perhaps an old teacher from a previous school," Mr. Brunner said before wheeling off. Percy just sighed. "Let's go, Naruto," he sighed and turned back. He saw Naruto was not there. "Now, where is he? I thought he was behind me. Had I imagined the whole thing?" Percy though. Naruto was standing on top of the museum and had a raven on his left shoulder. "What do you think, Karasu-chan?" Naruto asked. "Someone has erased their memories," Karasu said. "Only me, you, Percy, Grover and Mr. Brunner remembers her. Percy saw you using your power." "Why you haven't erased his memory?" "Because I have felt that something big is going to happen and Percy will be a big part of this." Both of them looked at Percy. "This world is not boring, as I thought. I think this is the start of our new adventure," he said, and both of them vanished in swirling vortex. Chapter 3. First Clue. Old Women. After that incident everything was normal in school, but for Percy it was not. For the rest of the year he was a bit put off by the revelation that Miss Dodds never existed. In her place was a perky blonde woman's name, Mrs. Kerr. Every so often Percy would spring a Miss Dodds reference on someone, just to see if he could trip them up, but they would stare at him like he was psycho. He had almost believed them, but Grover couldn't fool him. When he mentioned the name Dodds to him, he would always hesitate before denying it. But Percy knew he was lying. Naruto hadn't cared about all these things. Because this wasn't the first time something weird had happened with him. But he knows something was going on. Because a few days later, the biggest tornado ever spotted in the Hudson Valley touched down only 50 miles from Yancey Academy. One of the current events was the unusual number of small planes that had gone down in sudden squalls in the Atlantic this year. His next problem was Percy. Naruto explained Percy about his power. He told him about different dimension, ninja, chakra, etc. He told Percy truth, half-truth. At the first time Percy hadn't believed in him, but once Naruto used shadow clone jutsu and made many copies of him, Percy believed in him. Percy started feeling cranky and irritable most of the time. His grades slipped from D to F. He got into more fights with Nancy Bobofit and her friends. He sent out into the hallway in almost every class. Though Percy got in trouble when his English teacher, Mr. Nickel, asked him for the millionth time why he was too lazy to study for spelling tests, he snapped. He called him an old sot, whatever that meant. Headmaster sent a letter his mom telling her that Percy would not be allowed back next year. Naruto could tell Percy missed his mom because he hated that fact that she was with Gabe of all people. The kid was homesick, no surprise there. Right now, the two were in their dorm room trying their best to study for the upcoming exam. Throughout the night, Naruto could see that Percy was getting more and more agitated. "This is impossible," Percy said as he threw his book across the room. "I can't understand it." Naruto said, "Keep trying, Percy. You'll get it, evenly." "Thanks for the support, Naruto," Percy said and picked up the book. "What is problematic, Percy? What is the difference between Chiron and Sharon?" "Simple, one has an I and the other has an A in their name. You know what I mean. Why don't you ask Mr. Brunner for help? I'm sure he will help you." "Yeah, okay, thanks, Percy said, getting up from the desk, and Naruto was following him. They walked downstairs to the faculty offices. Most of them were dark and empty, but Mr. Brunner's door was ajar, light from his window stretching across the hallway floor. They were 3 steps from the door handle when they heard voices inside the office. Mr. Brunner asked a question. A voice that was definitely Grover's said, "Worried about Percy and Naruto, sir." They leaned slightly to hear their conversation. "Alone this summer," Grover was saying. "I mean, a kindly one in the school. Now that we know, and they know too, we would only make matters worse by rushing him," Mr. Brunner said. "We need Percy to mature more, and Naruto, there is something different about him. So, he is suspicious of me," Naruto thought. "We have to be resolved without them, Grover. Let Percy enjoy his ignorance while he still can, but I am not sure about Naruto." "But Percy, his imagination," Mr. Brunner insisted. "The mist over the students and staff will be enough to convince him of that." "Mist, is it some kind illusion?" Naruto thought. "Sir, I can't fail in my duties again." Grover's voice choked with emotion. "You know what that would mean." "You haven't failed, Grover," Mr. Brunner said kindly. "I should have seen her for what she was. Now let's just worry about keeping them alive until next fall." Suddenly, the mythology book dropped out of Percy's hand and hit the floor with a thud. His eyes widened in panic as all went silent. "Idiot," Naruto thought before he quickly grabbed Percy's arms and book. He led both of them away from the room. Mr. Brunner came out of the office and saw nothing. "Nothing," he murmured. "My nerves haven't been right since the winter solstice." "Mine neither," Grover said. "But I could have sworn." "Go back to the dorm," Mr. Brunner said. "You've got a long day of exams tomorrow." Govern said, "Don't remind me." Mr. Brunner went back to the office and closed the door. "I thought it was Percy," he murmured. Suddenly, office light went off. What happened with light? Mr. Brunner thought. "Interesting," a voice said from the dark. Mr. Brunner turned his head in the voice's direction. "Who is there?" he asked. Then a dark figure came out of the darkness in front of him. Mr. Brunner shook his head in disbelief and said, "Naruto?" He saw Naruto, whose normally dark blue eyes were red with 3 black tomo spinning inside them. "Hello, Mr. Brunner, care to tell me what's going on here?" Naruto asked calmly. Naruto suddenly appeared front of him. "And don't try to lie to me," he said. Mr. Brunner sighed. He took a card from pocket and gave it to Naruto. Naruto took a card from his hand. He saw it was written in the Greek, and thankfully he knew Greek. Half-Blood Camp, Half-Blood Hill, Long Island, New York, 800090009. It was some kind of dress of the summer camp. "What is this?" "A summer camp?" Naruto asked. Mr. Brunner said, "This is the place where you'll get your all questions answers. It better be true. Oh, one more thing, illusion doesn't work on me, and you are not what you look like," he said with a smirk. "Bye, Mr. C." Mr. Brunner froze. What? How?" he asked, but he only saw Naruto disappeared with a flock of crow. So he is from that world, Mr. Brunner thought. Grover walked in to see Percy and Naruto reading their textbooks, with Percy sitting at a desk while Naruto was lying on the bed, studying his exam notes. "Hey," Grover said, bleary-eyed. "Are you ready for the test?" "I'm ready," Naruto said, looking at him. Percy didn't answer. "You look awful," Grover said to Percy. "Is everything okay?" "Just tired," Percy said, and turned so Grover couldn't read his expression, and started getting ready for bed. The next afternoon, both Percy and Naruto were leaving the 3-hour Latin exam. "That was not bad," Naruto said. "Only for you, Naruto. For me it was worst. Ugh, my eyes are swimming with all the Greek and Roman names that I misspelled," Percy complained as he held his head. Unfortunately, Mr. Brunner called him back inside. For a moment, Percy was worried he'd found out about his and Naruto's eavesdropping the night before, but that didn't seem to be the problem. "Percy," Mr. Brunner said in a kind tone, "don't be discouraged about leaving Yancey. It's for the best." Is he encouraging him or trying to break his spirit? Naruto thought. Percy mumbled, "Okay, sir. I mean." Mr. Brunner wheeled his chair back and forth, like he wasn't sure what to say. This isn't the right place for you. It was only a matter of time. Right, Percy said with a slightly angry voice. No, Mr. Brunner said. Oh, confound it all. What I'm trying to say, you're not normal, Percy. That's nothing to be. Thanks, Percy blurted. Thanks a lot, sir, for reminding me. Percy, Mr. Brunner called out, but Percy was already out the door. Take my advice, Mr. Brunner. Always think before you speak. Naruto said as he walked out of the room. On the last day of the term, Percy shoved his clothes into his suitcase. He was listening to the other guys. They were talking about their vacation plans. One of them was going on a hiking trip to Switzerland. Another was cruising the Caribbean for a month. One of them asked him what he was doing this summer. I am going back to the city. Percy said. Oh, one of the guys said. That's cool. They went back to their conversation as if he was never existed. Percy, I thought I was coming with you. Naruto said, staring Percy since he did know he was behind him. When did you get here? Percy asked. Just a few minutes ago, Naruto answered. Oh, Percy said. Sorry, I forgot you were coming with me. No problem, Percy. Naruto said, let's go. Percy was dreading how he was going to say goodbye to Grover, but as it turned out, he didn't have to. Grover did book a ticket to Manhattan on the same Greyhound as they had, so they were, together again, heading into the city. During the bus ride, Grover kept glancing nervously down the aisle, watching the other passengers. It occurred to Percy that he'd always acted nervous and fidgety when they left Yancey, as if he expected something bad to happen. Though Percy was getting annoyed by it and he blurted out, looking for kindly ones? Grover nearly jumped out of his seat. What do you mean? The boy confessed about eavesdropping on his and Mr. Brunner's conversation the night before the exams. Grover's eye twitched. How much did both of you hear? Oh, not much. What's the summer solstice deadline? Naruto asked. Grover winced. Look, Percy, Naruto. I was just worried for you, Percy, see? I mean, you are hallucinating about demon math teachers. Percy said, Grover. And I was telling Mr. Brunner that maybe you were overstressed or something, because there was no such person as Mrs. Dodds, and... Grover, you're a really bad liar, Naruto said. Grover's ears turned pink. From his shirt pocket, he fished out a grubby business card. Just take this, okay? In case you need me this summer. Both boys looked at the card. The card was in fancy script, which murdered in Percy's dyslexic eyes, but he finally made out something like, Grover Underwood, Keypor, Half-Blood Hill, Long Island, New York, 80000900009. This is same address Mr. Brunner gave me, Naruto thought. What's half? Percy started. Don't say it aloud. Grover yelped. That's mine, summer address. Percy shocked. Even Grover had a summer home. I'd never considered that his family might be as rich as the others at Yancey, he thought. Okay, Percy said glumly. So, if I want to come visit your mansion. Grover nodded. Or if you need me. Why would I need you? Percy growled out harshly, surprising even Naruto. Grover blushed. Look, Percy, the truth is, I kind of have to protect both of you. Both boys look at him oddly. I mean, they were the one who had to protect him in the school. Grover, Percy said, what exactly are you protecting me from? There was a huge grinding noise under our feet. Black smoke poured from the dashboard and the bus filled with a smell like rotten eggs. The driver cursed and limped the Greyhound over to the side of the highway. After a few minutes clanking around in the engine compartment, the driver announced, everyone out. Trio filed outside with everybody else. They were on a stretch of country road. On the highway was nothing but maple trees and litter from passing cars. Hey, what was that? Percy said, getting Naruto's attention. Percy pointed over to the side of the road and Naruto saw what looked like an old fruit stand. The stuff on sale looked really good, heaping boxes of blood-red cherries and apples, walnuts and apricots, jugs of cider in a clawfoot tub full of ice. There were no customers, just 3 old women sitting in rocking chairs in the shade of a maple tree, knitting the biggest pair of socks. The woman on the right knitted one of them. The woman on the left knitted the other. The woman in the middle held an enormous basket of electric blue yarn. All three women looked ancient, with pale faces wrinkled like fruit leather, silver hair tied back in white bandana, bony arms sticking out of bleached cotton dresses. The weirdest thing was they seemed to be looking right at Percy. Why they are looking at Percy? Naruto thought. He saw Grover's nose was twitching. Grover? Percy said. Hey, man, Grover asked Percy, tell me they're not looking at you. They are, aren't they? Yeah, weird, huh? You think those socks would fit me? Not funny, Percy. Not funny at all. The old woman in the middle took out a huge pair of scissors, gold and silver, long-bladed, like shears. Grover catches his breath. We're getting on the bus, he told them. Come on. What? Percy said. It's 1,000 degrees in there. Let's go, Percy, Naruto said. Percy surprised at that. What? He asked. Naruto said, only this time do it, just like he said. Because after that he will have to give us some explanation. Then he narrowed his eyes as he looked at Grover. Am I right? Grover saw his cold eyes, he paled and nodded immediately. Grover opened the door and climbed inside, but Percy and Naruto stayed back for a bit. Across the road, the old women were still watching Percy. The middle one cut the yarn, which they could hear that snip across 4 lanes of traffic. Her 2 friends balled up the electric blue socks, leaving Percy wondering who they could be for Sasquatch or Godzilla. Naruto rolled his eyes and climbed in the bus. At the rear of the bus, the driver wrenched a big chunk of smoking metal out of the engine compartment. The bus shuddered, and the engine roared back to life. The passengers cheered. Darn right! Yelled the driver. He slapped the bus with his hat. Everybody back on board. Once they got going, Percy started feeling feverish, as if he did catch the flu. Grover didn't look much better. He was shivering and his teeth were chattering. And Naruto, he was normal. Percy asked Grover. Yeah, tell us? Grover dabbed his forehead with his shirt sleeve. Percy and Naruto, what did you see back on the fruit stand? You mean the old women? What is it about them, man? They're not like Mrs. Dodds, are they? Percy asked. Grover's expression was hard to read, but they got the feeling that the fruit stand women were something much, much worse than Mrs. Dodds. Grover said, just tell me what you saw? Naruto said, the middle one took out her scissors, and she cut the yarn. Grover closed his eyes and made a gesture with his fingers and said, you two saw her snip the cord. Yeah. So? Percy said. This is not happening, Grover mumbled. He started chewing at his thumb. I didn't want this to be like the last time. What last time? Naruto asked. Always 6th grade. They never get past 6th. Grover, Percy said, because Grover was really starting to scare him. What are you talking about? Let me walk with both of you. Promise me, Grover said. Is this like a superstition or something? Percy asked. No answered. Grover, that snipping of the yarn. Does that mean somebody is going to die? He asked. Interesting, Naruto thought and looked away from Grover, who looked like he was already picking the kind of flowers to their grave. This is becoming more and more interesting. Chapter 4. Grover's Secret. The rest of the journey back was silent, but they ditched Grover as soon as they got to the bus terminal, because the rest of bus ride they listened to Grover. He was freaking out Percy and was looking both of them like they were a dead man, while muttering, why does this always happen? And why does it always have to be 6th grade? Whenever he got upset, Grover's bladder acted up, so they weren't surprised when, as soon as they got off the bus, Grover went to the bathroom at the bus station. Instead of waiting him, Percy got his suitcase, slipped outside with Naruto, and caught the first taxi uptown. East 104th and 1st, Percy told the driver. You know Grover will not like this, Naruto said. I know, but we have to go. I have to get home and see my mom and Grover is freaking me out, Percy said. Whatever, Naruto said as they traveled to Percy's mom's apartment. Along the way, Percy told Naruto all about his mom. Her name is Sally Jackson and she's the best person in the world. That also proves my theory that the best people have the rottenest luck, he said, and Naruto nodded, having heard that from him a few weeks ago. With Grover. Grover got out of the bathroom and looked around for Percy and Naruto. He only saw Naruto with his arms crossed. Naruto, where is Percy? He went home, Naruto replied, making Grover's eyes widen. What? Grover freaked. Grover, Mr. Brunner was right. I am not normal, Naruto said. You don't have to protect me, because I am perfectly capable to protect myself. With that he disappeared in a flock of crow. Grover had a look of pure shock on his face. Percy's mom apartment. Naruto and Percy walked Percy's mom's little apartment. Percy was hoping his mom would be home from work. Instead, Smelly Gabe was in the living room, playing poker with his buddies. The television blared ESPN. Chips and beer cans were strewn all over the carpet. Hardly looking up, Gabe said around his cigar, "So, you are home and who is your loser friend?" "Naruto," Percy said. "Where's my mom?" "Working," Gabe said. "You got any cash?" That made Percy rolled his eyes. "No, welcome back. Good to see you. How has your life been the last 6 months?" He thought. Percy noticed that Gabe had put on weight. He looked like a tuskless walrus in thrift store clothes. He had about 3 hairs on his head, all combed over his bald scalp, as if that made him handsome or something. This guy managed the electronics megamart in Queens, but he stayed home most of the time. It was a wonder why he hadn't been fired long before. He just kept on collecting paychecks, spending the money on cigars that made Percy nauseous, and on beer, of course. Always beer. Whenever Percy was home, he expected him to give his gambling funds. He called that their guy's secret. Meaning, if he told his mom, he would punch his lights out. "I don't have any cash," Percy told him. Gabe raised a greasy eyebrow. "You took a taxi from the bus station," he said. "Probably paid with a 20, got 6, $7 in change. The somebody expects to live under this roof, he ought to carry his own weight. Am I right, Eddie?" Eddie, the super of the apartment building, looked at Percy with a twinge of sympathy. "Come on, Gabe," he said. "The kid just got here. Am I right?" Gabe repeated. Eddie scowled into his bowl of pretzels. The other 2 guys passed gas in harmony. "Fine," Percy said. He dug a wad of dollars out of his pocket and threw the money on the table. "I hope you lose. Your report card came, brain boy." Gabe shouted after me. "I wouldn't act so snooty." Naruto saw the scene. He looked at Gabe and said calmly, "Give Percy back his money." Then just like a puppet Gabe had obeyed his order. He gave Percy back his money. "Now sleep," he said to Gabe and Eddie. He put both of them to sleep. Percy looked at the money, which Gabe had given back him. "How did you do that?" he asked to Naruto in surprised tone. "Hypnosis and illusion," Naruto said. "I wish I could do that," Percy said. They left the room and went Percy's room, which really wasn't his room. During school months, it was Gabe's study. He didn't study anything in there except old car magazines, but he loved shoving Percy stuff in the closet, leaving his muddy boots on my windowsill, and doing his best to make the place smell like his nasty cologne and cigars and stale beer. Percy dropped his suitcase on the bed. Home sweet home. Percy thought about Gabe's smell, which was almost worse than the nightmares about Mrs. Dodds, or the sound of that old fruit lady's shears snipping the yarn. But as soon as he thought that, his legs felt weak. He remembered Grover's look of panic, how he'd made me promise they wouldn't go home without him. A sudden chill rolled through him. Naruto saw fear on Percy's face and asked, "Are you okay, Percy?" Before Percy could answer, he heard his mom, Sally's voice. "Percy?" She opened the bedroom door, and his fears melted. Percy looked at his mother, her eyes sparkle and change color in the light. Her smile is as warm as a quilt. She's got a few gray streaks mixed in with her long brown hair. "Oh, Percy," she hugged him tight. "I can't believe it. You've grown since Christmas." "Thanks, Mom," Percy said. Her red, white and blue Sweet on America uniform smelled like the best things in the world, chocolate, licorice, and all the other stuff she sold at the candy shop in Grand Central. She'd brought him a huge bag of free samples, the way she always did when he came home. Sally saw Naruto and asked, "So who is your friend?" "Oh, that is Naruto Uchiha. He is a good friend from school." Percy replied. "Good to know you have a friend," Sally Jackson said. "Did you know what happened with Gabe and his friend, and why they are sleeping like this?" "I don't know," Percy lied. Sally nodded and hugged him again. Percy then began to tell her all about his school year at Yancey Academy. It seriously was not as bad as the headmaster said it was. He didn't really tell her much about the museum because it still freaked him out. Did something scare you? No, Mom, Percy said. He wanted to tell her about Mrs. Dodds and the three old ladies with the yarn, but he thought it would sound stupid. Sally pursed her lips. She knew Percy was hiding something, but she didn't push him. I have a surprise for you, she said. We're going to the beach. Percy's eyes widened. Montauk? 3 nights, same cabin. When? Sally smiled. As soon as I get changed. She looked at Naruto. You can also come with us, Naruto. Sorry, I couldn't come with you, Naruto said. Why? Percy asked. Naruto said, I have to go somewhere, Percy. I only came here to meet your mother, maybe next time. No problem, Naruto, Sally said. Goodbye Percy and Mrs. Jackson, Naruto said. Goodbye, Naruto, Percy said. He was a bit sad, because Naruto wasn't coming with him. Naruto left the room and walked out to the Percy's home. He looked around and when he saw there was no one, he disappeared in the swirling of the vortex. Narrator's apartment. Naruto appeared in his apartment. Karasu-chan, Naruto said. He called his raven. Karasu came out from the shadow and landed on his left shoulder. Yes, master, she said. Tomorrow we are going to somewhere. Where? A summer camp. With Percy. Gabe kept griping and groaning about losing Sally's cooking and most important, his 78 camera for the whole weekend. Not a scratch on this car, brain boy, he warned Percy. Not one little scratch. It's not me who'll drive the car. I am only 12, Percy thought. But that didn't matter to Gabe. If a seagull so much as popped on his paint job, he'd find a way to blame him. Watching him lumber back toward the apartment building, Percy got so mad he did something. As Gabe reached the doorway, he made the hand gesture like Grover make on the bus, a sort of warding off evil gesture, a clawed hand over his heart, then a shoving movement toward Gabe. The screen door slammed shut so hard it whacked Gabe in the butt and sent him flying up the staircase as if he'd been shot from a cannon. Percy didn't stay long enough to find out what happened. He got in the Camaro and told his mom to step on it. Time skip. Right now, the car was pulling in next to a wooden cabin that located right on the beach. It was a little pastel box with faded curtains, half sunken into the dunes. There was sand in the sheets and spiders in the cabinets, and the sea was too cold to swim in. I loved the place, Percy thought. They got there, opened all the cabin's windows, and went through their usual cleaning routine. We walked on the beach, fed blue corn chips to the seagulls, and munched on blue jelly beans, blue saltwater taffy, and all the other free samples Sally had brought from work. When it got dark, they made a fire. They roasted hot dogs and marshmallows. Sally told Percy stories about when she was a kid, back before her parents died in the plane crash. She told him about the book she wanted to write someday, when she had enough money to quit the candy shop. Mom, what was my father like? Percy asked with some courage. He was kind, Percy, Sally said. Tall, handsome, and powerful. But gentle, too. You have his black hair, you know, and his green eyes. She fished a blue jelly bean out of her candy bag. I wish he could see you, Percy. He would be so proud. How old was I? Percy asked. I mean. When he left, Sally watched the flames. He was only with me for 1 summer, Percy. Right here on this beach. This cabin, but. He knew me as a baby. No honey, he knew I was expecting a baby, but he never saw you. He had to leave before you were born. Percy nodded, obviously feeling a little hurt that his father never really met him. Also, he was angry at his father, for going on that ocean voyage, for not having the guts to marry his mom. He'd left them, and now they stuck with smelly Gabe. Are you going to send me away again? Percy asked. To another boarding school? Sally pulled a marshmallow from the fire. I don't know, honey. Her voice was heavy. I think we will have to do something, because you don't want me around? Percy regretted the words as soon as they were out. His mom's eyes welled with tears. She took his hand, squeezed it tight. Oh, Percy, no. I have to, honey, for your own good. I have to send you away. Her words reminded him of what Mr. Brunner had said, that it was best for him to leave Yancey. Because I'm not normal, Percy said. You say that as if it's a bad thing, Percy. But you don't realize how important you are. I thought Yancy Academy would be far enough away. I thought you'd finally be safe. Safe from what? She met his eyes, and a flood of memories came back to him, all the weird, scary things that had ever happened to him, some of which she tried to forget. I've tried to keep you as close to me as I could, Sally said. They told me that was a mistake. But there's only one other option, Percy, the place your father wanted to send you. And I just can't stand to do it. My father wanted me to go to a special school? Not a school, Sally said softly. A summer camp. Why would my dad, who hadn't even stayed around long enough to see me born, talk to my mom about a summer camp? And if it was so important, why hadn't she ever mentioned it before? Percy thought. I'm sorry, Percy, Sally said, seeing the look in my eyes. But I can't talk about it. I couldn't send you to that place. It might mean saying goodbye to you for good. For good? But if it's only a summer camp. Sally turned toward the fire, and Percy knew from her expression that if he asked her any more questions she would start to cry. With Naruto. Naruto was packing his bag. Why we are going a summer camp? Karasu asked. To find my answer's question, Naruto said. Do you know how we can go there? Mr. Brunner is already there. We can follow his energy signature, Naruto said. Now time to take a nap. In dream. That night both Percy and Naruto had a vivid dream. It was storming on the beach, and three beautiful animals, a white horse, a golden eagle, and the pitch-black raven was trying to kill each other at the edge of the surf. Well, the raven was not doing much. It just hovered in midair, watching the two fights and only with a mild look of interest. Of course, it would attack at certain times. The eagle swooped down and slashed the horse's muzzle with its huge talons. The horse reared up and kicked at the eagle's wings. The raven then decided to claw at the eagle a bit before doing the same to the horse. As they fought, the ground rumbled, and a monstrous voice chuckled somewhere beneath the earth, goading the animals to fight harder. Naruto saw Percy ran toward them, to stop them from killing each other, but he was running in slow motion. He saw the eagle dive down, its beak for the horse's wide eyes, while the raven decides to help out its flying companion, and Percy screamed, "No!" Naruto waked up from a dream. Weary dream, he thought. What happened? Karasu asked. Just dream, but it was felt real. With Percy. Percy woke up. Outside, it really was storming, the kind of storm that cracks trees and blows down houses. There was no horse or eagle on the beach, just lightning making false daylight, and 20-foot waves pounding the dunes like artillery. With the next thunderclap, his mom woke. She sat up, eyes wide, and said hurricane. Percy knew that was crazy. Long Island never sees hurricanes this early in the summer. But the ocean seemed to have forgotten. Over the roar of the wind, he heard a distant bellow, an angry, tortured sound that made his hair stand on end. Then a much closer noise, like mallets in the sand. A desperate voice, someone yelling, pounding on the cabin door. Sally sprang out of bed in her nightgown and threw open the lock. Grover stood framed in the doorway against a backdrop of pouring rain. But he wasn't. He wasn't exactly sane Grover, he knows. Searching all night, Grover said to Percy. What were you thinking? Sally looked at Percy in terror, not scared of Grover, but of why he'd come. Percy, she shouted. What happened at school? What didn't you tell me? Percy was frozen, looking at Grover. He couldn't understand what he was seeing. Oh, Zukai alloy theoi! Grover yelled. It's right behind me. Didn't you tell her? Percy was too shocked to register that Grover just cursed in ancient Greek, and he did understand him perfectly. He was too shocked to wonder how Grover had gotten here by himself in the middle of the night. Because Grover didn't have his pants on and where his legs should be. Sally looked at him sternly and talked in a tone she'd never used before. Percy, tell me now. Percy stammered something about the old ladies at the fruit stand, and Mrs. Dodds, and his mom stared at him, her face deathly pale in the flashes of lightning. She grabbed her purse, tossed Percy his rain jacket, and said, Get in the car. Both of you. Go! Grover ran for the Camaro, but he wasn't running, exactly. He was trotting, shaking his shaggy hindquarters, and suddenly his story about a muscular disorder in his legs made sense to Percy. He understood how he could run so fast and still limp when he walked. Because where his feet should be, there were no feet. There were cloven hooves. They didn't notice a raven, who was watching the whole scene, disappeared with a puff of smoke. Chapter 5. Come Bull Hit Me. They tore through the night along dark country roads. The wind slammed against the Camaro. Rain lashed the windshield. Percy didn't know how his mom could see anything, but she kept her foot on the gas. Every time there was a flash of lightning, Percy looked at Grover sitting next to him in the back seat and he wondered if he did go insane, or if he was wearing a shag carpet pants. So, Grover, you and my mom know each other? Percy asked to finally find his voice. Grover's eyes flitted to the rearview mirror, though there were no cars behind us. Not exactly, he said. I mean, we've never met in person. But she knew I was watching you. Watching me? Keeping tabs on you and Naruto, making sure you two were okay. So, where is Naruto? I thought he was with you, he said. He didn't come with us. He had something to do, Grover. What are you, exactly? That doesn't matter right now. It doesn't matter? From the waist down, my best friend is a donkey. Grover let out a sharp, throaty, blahaha. Percy had heard him make that sound before, but he did always assume it was a nervous laugh. Now he realized it was more of an irritated bleat. Goat! Grover cried. What? I'm goat from the waist down. You just said it didn't matter. Blahaha. There are satyrs who would trample you underhoof for such an insult. Whoa, wait, satyrs. You mean like Mr. Brunner's myths? Were those old ladies at the fruit stand a myth, Percy? Was Mrs. Dodds a myth? So, you admit there was a Mrs. Dodds? Of course. Then why? The less you knew, the fewer monsters you'd attract, Grover said. We put mist over the human's eyes. We hoped you'd think the kindly one was a hallucination. But it was no good. You started to realize who you are. Wait a minute, what do you mean? The weird bellowing noise rose up again somewhere behind us, closer than before. Whatever was chasing us was still on our trail. Percy, Sally said, there's too much to explain and not enough time. We have to get you to safety. Safety from what? Who's after me? Oh, nobody much, Grover said, obviously still miffed about the donkey comment. Just the Lord of the Dead and a few of his bloodthirsty minions. Grover! Sorry, Mrs. Jackson. Could you drive faster, please? Percy tried to wrap his head around all this madness. His mom made a hard left. They swerved onto a narrower road, racing past darkened farmhouses and wooded hills and pick-your-own-strawberry signs on white picket fences. Where are we going? Percy asked. The summer camp I told you about, Sally said. Her voice was tight, she was trying for Percy's sake not to be scared. The place your father wanted to send you. The place you didn't want me to go. Please, dear, Sally said. This is hard enough. Try to understand. You're in danger. Because some old ladies cut yarn. Those weren't old ladies, Grover said. Those were the fates. Do you know what it means, the fact they appeared in front of you? They only do that when you're about to. When someone's about to die. Whoa. You said you. No, I didn't. I said someone. You meant you. As in me. I meant you, like someone. Not you, you. Boys. Sally said. She pulled the wheel hard to the right, and Percy got a glimpse of a figure she'd swerved to avoid, a dark fluttering shape now lost behind them in the storm. What was that? Percy asked. We're almost there, Sally said, ignoring his question. Another mile, please, please, please. Outside, nothing but rain and darkness. Percy thought about Mrs. Dodds and the moment when she'd changed into the thing with pointed teeth and leathery wings. His limbs went numb from delayed shock. She really hadn't been human. She'd meant to kill him. Then he thought about Mr. Brunner. And the sword he had thrown him. Before he could ask Grover about that, there was a blinding flash, a jaw-rattling boom, and the car explodes and land on the ground upside down. Percy peeled his forehead off the back of the driver's seat and said, Ow. Percy! Sally shouted. I'm okay. Percy tried to shake off the daze. He wasn't dead. The car hadn't really exploded. They did swerve into a ditch. Their driver's side doors wedged in the mud. The roof had cracked open like an eggshell and rain was pouring in. Lightning. That was the only explanation. They blasted right off the road. Next to him in the back seat was a big motionless lump. Grover! Grover slumped over, blood trickling from the side of his mouth. Percy shook his furry hip. No! Even if you are a half-barnyard animal, you're my best friend and I don't want you to die, Percy thought. Grover groaned, food. He is all right. Percy, Sally said. We have to. Her voice faltered. In a flash of lightning, through the mud-spattered rear windshield, Percy saw a figure lumbering toward us on the shoulder of the road. The sight of it made his skin crawl. It was a dark silhouette of a huge guy, like a football player. He seemed to be holding a blanket over his head. His top half was bulky and fuzzy. His upraised hands made it look like he had horns. Who is? Percy, Sally said, deadly serious. Get out of the car. She tried the driver's side, but all the mud was blocking their way out. Climb out the passenger side, she said to Percy. Percy, you have to run. Do you see that big tree? What? Another flash of lightning and through the smoking hole in the roof Percy saw the tree she meant, a huge, White House Christmas tree-sized pine at the crest of the nearest hill. That's the property line, Sally said. Get over that hill and you'll see a big farmhouse down in the valley. Run and don't look back. Yell for help. Don't stop until you reach the door. Mom, you're coming too. Her face was pale, her eyes as sad as when she looked at the ocean. No! Percy shouted. You are coming with me. Help me carry Grover. Food. Grover moaned, a little louder. Percy saw, the man with the blanket on his head kept coming toward them, making his grunting, snorting noises. As he got closer, Percy realized he wasn't holding a blanket over his head, because there was no blanket. It was his head and the points were his horns. He doesn't want us, Sally said. He wants you. Besides, I can't cross the property line. But, we don't have time, Percy. Go. Please. He climbed across Grover and pushed the door open into the rain. We're going together. Come on, Mom. I told you. Mom. I am not leaving you. Help me with Grover. Percy didn't wait for her answer. He scrambled outside, dragging Grover from the car. He was surprisingly light, but Percy couldn't have carried him very far if his mother hadn't come to his aid. Together, they draped Grover's arms over their shoulders and started stumbling uphill through the wet waist-high grass. Glancing back, Percy got my first clear look at the monster. He was 7 feet tall, easy, his arms and legs like something from the cover of Muscle Man magazine, bulging biceps and triceps and a bunch of other caps, all stuffed like baseballs under vein-webbed skin. He wore no clothes except underwear, bright white fruit of the looms, which would have looked funny, except that the top half of his body was so scary. Coarse brown hair started at about his belly button and got thicker as it reached his shoulders. His neck was a massive muscle and fur leading up to his enormous head, which had a snout as long as his arm, snotty nostrils with a gleaming brass ring, cruel black eyes, and horns, enormous black and white horns. Percy recognized the monster, all right. He had been in one of the first stories Mr. Brunner told them. He blinked the rain out of his eyes. That's Pacifi's son, Sally said. I wish I'd known how badly they want to kill you. But he's the Min. Don't say his name, she warned. Names have power. The pine tree was still way too far, 100 yards uphill at least. Percy glanced behind him again. The Minotaur hunched over the car, looking in the windows, or not looking, exactly. More like snuffling, nuzzling. Percy wasn't sure why he bothered, since he was only about 50 feet away. Food? Grover moaned. Shoo, Percy told him. Mom, what's he doing? Doesn't he see us? His sight and hearing are terrible, Sally said. He goes by smell. But he'll figure out where we are soon enough. As if on cue, the Minotaur bellowed in rage. He picked up Gabe's Camaro by the torn roof, the chassis creaking and groaning. He raised the car over his head and threw it down the road. It slammed into the wet asphalt and skidded in a shower of sparks for about half a mile before coming to a stop. The gas tank exploded. Not a scratch, Percy remembered Gabe saying. Percy, Sally said. When he sees us, he'll charge. Wait until the last second, then jump out of the way, directly sideways. He can't change directions very well once he's charging. Do you understand? How do you know all this? I've been worried about an attack for a long time. I should have expected this. I was selfish, keeping you near me. Keeping me near you? But, another bellow of rage, and the bullman started tramping uphill. He'd smelled us. The pine tree was only a few more yards, but the hill was getting steeper and slicker. Looking behind them, they saw the bullman was picking up pace and getting closer and closer to them. Sally exhausted, but she shouldered Grover. Go, Percy. Separate. Remember what I said. Percy sprinted to the left, turned, and saw the creature bearing down on him. His black eyes glowed with hate. He reeked like rotten meat. He lowered his head and charged, those razor-sharp horns aimed straight at his chest. Percy thought, I could never outrun this thing. He held his ground, and at the last moment, he jumped to the side. The Minotaur stormed past like a freight train, then bellowed with frustration and turned, but not toward Percy this time, to his mother, Sally, who was setting Grover down in the grass. They reached the crest of the hill. Down the other side Percy saw a valley, just as his mother had said, and the lights of a farmhouse glowing yellow through the rain. But that was half a mile away. We'd never make it, Percy thought. The Minotaur grunted, pawing the ground. He kept eyeing Sally, who was now retreating slowly downhill, back toward the road, trying to lead him away from Grover. Run, Percy! She shouted. I can't go any farther. Run! The Minotaur charged her. She tried to sidestep, as she'd told Percy to do, but then he had learned his lesson. His hand shot out and grabbed her by the neck as she tried to get away. He lifted her as she struggled, kicking and pummeling the air. Mom! Percy yelled. Sally caught Percy's eyes, managed to choke out one last word, go. Then, with an angry roar, the monster closed his fists around her neck, and she dissolved before Percy's eyes, melting into light, a shimmering golden form, as if she were a holographic projection. A blinding flash and she was simply gone. No! Percy saw the Minotaur bore down on Grover, who lay helpless in the grass. The monster hunched over, snuffling him, as if he were about to lift Grover up and make him dissolve too. Percy stripped off his red rain jacket. Hey! He screamed, waving the jacket, running to one side of the monster. Hey, stupid! Ground beef! Ray-er-er! The Minotaur turned toward him, shaking his meaty fists. Percy patted his back to the big pine tree and waved his red jacket in front of the Minotaur. He charged too fast, his arms out to grab him whichever way he tried to dodge. Percy's legs tensed. He couldn't jump sideways, so he leaped straight up, kicking off from the creature's head, using it as a springboard, turning in midair, and landing on his neck. How did I do that? Percy didn't have time to figure it out. A millisecond later, the Minotaur's head slammed into the tree and the impact nearly knocked his teeth out. The Minotaur staggered around, trying to shake him, but he locked his arms around his horns to keep from being thrown. The smell of rotten meat burned his nostrils. The Minotaur shook himself around and bucked like a rodeo bull. Meanwhile, Grover started groaning on the grass. Percy wanted to yell at him to shut up. Food! Grover moaned. The Minotaur wheeled toward him, pawed the ground again, and got ready to charge. In the range, Percy got both hands around one horn and pulled backward with all his might. The Minotaur tensed, gave a surprised grunt, then, snap! The bullman screamed and flung him through the air. He landed flat on his back in the grass. His head smacked against a rock. Percy sat up, his vision was blurry, but he had a horn in his hands, a ragged bone weapon the size of a knife. The Minotaur charged. Without thinking, he rolled to one side and came up kneeling. As the monster barreled past, he tried to drive the broken horn straight into his side, right up under his furry rib cage. But he threw him toward Grover. Percy saw the Minotaur roared and charged toward them. Excuse me, a voice said from behind the Minotaur, and then someone punched him in the face with a strong force, and sent him flying through a series of trees in the forest. Are you all right, Percy? Percy saw it was Naruto, who punched the Minotaur. Naruto? What are you doing here? He asked. I will explain you later, Naruto said. He saw Grover. Take Grover and go. I will handle him. But, Ray-er-er, go! Percy managed to haul Grover up and staggered down into the valley, toward the lights of the farmhouse. Ray-er-er! Naruto looked at the Minotaur, who was getting up on his feet. When they got in there, Percy fell to his knees. Looking up, he saw the familiar face of Mr. Brunner, who was giving them a serious look. He also saw a very pretty blonde-haired girl, whose hair looked curled like a princess. "And Naruto monster fight," Percy said and fell unconscious. "What was he talking about?" Blonde girl asked. Mr. Brunner said, "Annabeth, that was when the ground-shaking impact occurred that rocked the forest. The tremors sent them off their feet to the ground." "That can't be good," Annabeth said. "That could be the monster's doing." "I somehow doubt that," Mr. Brunner thought. Suddenly the Minotaur's body came crashing down in front of them, then began to disintegrate like crumbling sand, blown away in chunks by the wind. Mr. Brunner saw Naruto was clammily coming toward them, with Minotaur's horn in his left hand. He was wearing a gray shirt, black pants, black shoes, and a black jacket with hood. What really caught his eye was his face. Naruto had short fangs in his mouth, and slightly slitted pupils in his eyes. Also he had small purple-colored diamond mark on his forehead. "Hello Mr. Brunner," Naruto said. He looked at the blonde girl. "And you are?" My name is Annabeth Chase." Naruto nodded. "Naruto Uchiha." He saw Percy and Grover. "They're unconscious," he said. "Bring them inside," Mr. Brunner said. Time skip. "Good to see you again Mr. Brunner," Naruto commented. "You already know my real name, Naruto," Mr. Brunner said. "The question is how." "Your name is Chiron," Naruto said. "Illusion does not work on me. I can easily see your horse half." After that it wasn't difficult to find your true name. "So you are from that world," Chiron said. Annabeth gave Chiron a look of confusion while Naruto had a serious look on his face. "Do you know about the Element Nation?" he asked with narrowed eyes while Annabeth looked even more confused. "I hear things when I got to the annual meets of the gods," Chiron said. "Gods?" Chiron told Naruto all about Greek gods and their existence. "You are in the same boat as Percy. If you are indeed a child of the Big Three, then one of you has to decide the fate of the world at a later time as said in a prophecy of the oracle." Chiron said, "I am not interested nor do I want to decide the fate of the world. If what you say is true then, I will leave it to Percy." "I see, just know that the prophecy says the time will come when the demigod is 16, so we have time." "Nothing is set in stone," Naruto said. "And I don't believe in the prophecy." "Very well," Chiron said. "If I am a kid of the Big Three, whose am I? We have an idea, but we must keep quiet until they claim you. Besides, being one of the Big Three's kids is kind of bad." Chiron stated. "Why?" "Because, they swore an oath after World War II that they would not have kids anymore," Annabeth answered. "Whatever," Naruto said. "Now I will have a camper show you the cabin for later. Then you come back here. When Percy wakes up I will tell more about this as I don't want to say this twice," Chiron said. "Very well, Naruto," and he followed him out the door. "Annabeth, please continue to watch Percy please," Chiron ordered. Once outside, Naruto raised an eyebrow. This place was big. He looked around to see that the hill with the pine tree was not far from them. This tree has the soul in it, Naruto thought. Then he looked ahead to see a bunch of cabins in a U-shaped arc. "Clarice! Come here please!" Chiron shouted. The girl turned her head and saw Chiron and one of the new guys everyone was talking about. Naruto noticed that she was pretty tall, strong-looking, and probably 2 years older than him. She looked gruff and had the look of a fighter. "What? I would like for you to show Naruto here around the cabins for the moment. I will probably have Annabeth show Naruto and Percy around camp later when the latter wakes up." "Fine, got to welcome the newbie anyway," Clarice said with an evil smirk. Naruto raised an eyebrow for that. "Well, come with me," Clarice called out, already walking away. He followed her all the way to the middle of the arc of cabins. "Okay, listen closely because I am only going to say this once. There are 12 cabins in all. Each one represents the Greek god it was made for. Their kids are the one who lives in there. Since you are new and have not been claimed yet, you will go to cabin 11, the Hermes cabin." Naruto nodded. "Who is your parent?" he asked. "The god of war," Clarice pointed to a red cabin. "Right, now we have the other cabins. We got Demeter, Dionysus, Athena, Apollo, Aphrodite, Hephaestus, Hera, Zeus, Artemis and Poseidon," she said pointing to each. He looked at Zeus and Hera's and quirked an eyebrow. They got some pretty fancy cabins for nobody to use. He noticed that a Hades cabin was not there, odd since he was part of the Big Three. Now, it is not to officially welcome you, Clarice said, making a lot of people look to them and they grimaced. Clarice was breaking in another newbie. Clarice quickly reacted out and tried to grab Naruto. She along with everyone else gasped surprise when Naruto disappeared with a murder of Crow. What? She shouted. Before she could do anything, she felt cold metal against her neck. You are good, but not that good, Naruto said from behind her. He held kunai on her neck. And thanks for tour. He put kunai back to his pocket. Clarice was in deep shock. Who is he, she thought. They arrived in the big house. Chiron saw that Naruto looked bored and Classier looked a little lost. As I thought, her welcome plan has failed, he thought. You are back, he said. Since Percy won't be fully awake until tomorrow, I would like for you to stay near here. Okay, see you later Chiron, Clarice, Naruto said. He disappeared with a flock of crow. Clarice shocked when he had disappeared front of her. Who is he? She asked to Chiron. Front of pine tree. Naruto arrived at the pine tree. He looked at the tree with his Sharingan and saw strange energy. Interesting, it is life energy, Naruto thought. He looked around and noticed the energy had surrounded whole camp. And it is protecting the camp. Naruto closed his eyes and touched the tree by his left hand. Suddenly he felt pulling sensation. When he opened his eyes, he was in a large white room and was not alone. A girl stood across from him, staring at him with shock eyes. She had shoulder-length or short, spiky black hair, electric blue eyes and freckles across her nose. She was wearing some punk-style clothes. She is extremely pretty. Who are you? The girl asked. I am Naruto Uchiha, Naruto said. Who are you? Where are we? I am Talia and we are in limbo. Chapter 6. I'm demigod. I am Talia and we are in limbo. Talia saw the boy front of her. He was tall and handsome. He had pale skin with spicy, midnight black hair, and dark blue eyes. He was wearing a gray shirt, black pants, black shoes, and a black jacket with hood. How did you come here? She asked. I don't know, and you? Naruto asked. It is the longest story. I have time, but first tell me, are you demigod? Talia nodded. Whose kid are you? Naruto asked. Talia scowled a bit and said, Zeus and you? Naruto raised an eyebrow but didn't say much to her scowling. Not a clue. He looked at her and asked, Are you ready to tell me your story? Talia nodded. She told him about her journey with Luck, Annabeth. How they were found by a satyr named Grover Underwood who tried to get them to Camp Half-Blood. Together, they traveled to Camp Half-Blood but chased by monsters from the underworld. Once they reached camp, a horde of monsters attacked and she sacrificed her life on Half-Blood Hill to protect Annabeth, Luke, and Grover. To prevent her soul from going to Hades, Zeus turned her into a pine tree. Wow, you are brave, Naruto said. How long have you been here anyway? I think more than 5 years. I can come here. Then I guess I can keep you company now and then. Naruto said with a smile. Next time I will tell you my story, he said. Talia smiled back. Thanks, I would like that. Well, see you next time, Talia, Naruto said and gave her a hug. He backs up from the hug and disappeared from there. See you later Naruto, Talia whispered to herself with a slight blush. Back in the normal world, Naruto saw it was morning. Didn't think I was in limbo that long, he thought and disappeared. Naruto appeared in the big house. He saw Grover, Annabeth, and Chiron there around a table with another person he had not met yet. Good morning. They turned their heads and saw him. Good morning Naruto, Chiron said, fully turning around. Anyway, I would like you to meet Mr. Naruto looked at the other man who was sitting around the table with a Coke can in his hand. He wore a leopard print shirt and had messy black hair and was a little on the chubby side and is rocking the bearded look. He looked like someone who coached a peewee soccer team. Well, I guess I must say it. Welcome to Camp Half-Blood. Mr. D said. Nice to meet you, Mr. Wine God, Naruto said. That is correct. Nice to see not all the demigods that first arrive here are idiots, Mr. D said. It is not difficult. I can sense you are God. Because your energy signature is different from others, Naruto said. Energy signature? Mr. D asked. Naruto is from that world, Chiron said. Mr. D surprised at this. You are from Element Nation, he said to Naruto. Well, I can honestly say that I have never been to your world. But I have heard about it from the other gods. What is Element Nation? Annabeth asked. Element Nation is another world, or you could say that it is another dimension. It is a dangerous place. Naruto is from that world, Chiron said. He told them about ninja, shinobi, chakra, and some other detail. Wow, I never know that kind world exists, Grover said, and Annabeth nodded. Naruto Uchiha, are you related to Madara Uchiha? Mr. D asked. Naruto surprised at this. Yes, he is my grandfather, he said. Interesting, Mr. D said. What is interesting, Mr. D? Grover asked. I heard from other gods, Madara was powerful warrior. Alone he can destroy armies of the enemy. Also, he was able to control the demon using his eyes, Mr. D said. Control demon using the eyes? Annabeth asked. Mr. D means this. Annabeth looked at Naruto. His normally dark blue eyes were red with 3 black tomo spinning inside them. This is Sharingan, he said, and his eyes turned back to normal. So, this is Sharingan, Mr. D asked. Naruto nodded. Oh Naruto, I almost forgot. These are yours, Chiron said as he took out 2 black fingerless gloves. Naruto took them and put them on hands. After examining them, he saw Jubi's red eye-like symbol on right glove. He channeled his chakra into it and it started to glow. As the glow faded, Naruto saw his right glove had now taken on the form of a black and red gauntlet that had a small chain linking it to a stinger-like blade on his middle finger. The stinger was about twice as long as the normal length of his fingers, slightly increasing his striking distance. Note, imagine Soifun Suzumabachi's Shirkai. Nice, Naruto said. Mr. D surprised by the amount of power rolling from him. Such power, he thought. I can tell that he is hiding his power. With Percy. Percy groaned as he opened his eyes. He was sitting in a deck chair on a huge porch, gazing across a meadow at green hills in the distance. He smelt strawberries in the air. There was a blanket over his legs, a pillow behind his neck. All that was great, but he had other things on his mind. Where am I? My tongue is dry and nasty, and every one of my teeth is hurt. He noticed on the table next to him was a tall drink. It looked like iced apple juice, with a green straw and a paper parasol stuck through a maraschino cherry. He reached for it with shaky hands, and almost dropped it once he had lifted it off the table. Careful, a familiar voice said. He saw Grover was leaning against the porch railing. Under one arm, he cradled a shoebox. He was wearing blue jeans, Converse high tops and a bright orange t-shirt that said Camp Half-Blood. You saved my life, Grover said. Well, the least I could do. I went back to the hill. I thought you might want this. He placed the shoebox in Percy's lap. Inside was a black and white bull's horn, the base jagged from being broken off, the tip splattered with dried blood. It wasn't a nightmare, Percy thought. The Minotaur, he said. Percy, it isn't a good idea. That's what they call him in the Greek myths, isn't it? Percy demanded. The Minotaur, half man, half bull. Grover shifted uncomfortably and asked, You've been out for 2 days. How much do you remember? My mom, is she really? Grover looked down. I'm sorry. He sniffled. I'm a failure. I'm the worst satyr in the world. Percy said, It wasn't your fault. Yes, it was. I was supposed to protect you. Did my mother ask you to protect me? No. But that's my job. I'm a keeper. At least. I was. But why? Percy suddenly felt dizzy, his vision swimming. Don't strain yourself, Grover said. Here he helped Percy hold the glass and put the straw to his lips. Percy nodded reluctantly and began to sip of the drink. He recoiled at the taste. It was his mom's homemade blue chocolate chip cookies, turned to liquid form. He didn't realize that he had kept drinking it until it was gone. He looked into the glass sure that he had just had a warm drink to see that the ice cubes hadn't even melted. How do you feel, Percy? Grover asked. Percy said, like I could throw Nancy Boboffet 100 yards. That's good, Grover said. That's good. I don't think you could risk drinking any more of that stuff. What do you mean? Percy asked. Grover took the empty glass from Percy and set it back on the table. Come on. Chiron and Mr. D are waiting. Percy's legs felt wobbly, trying to walk that far. Grover had offered to hold the minotaur horn he was holding, but he refused. As they came around the opposite end of the house, Percy caught his breath. He thought they must have been on the north shore of Long Island, because on this side of the house, the valley marched all the way up to the water, which glittered about a mile in the distance. Between here and there, he simply couldn't process everything he was seeing. The landscape dotted with buildings that looked like ancient Greek architecture, an open-air pavilion, an amphitheater, a circular arena, except that they all looked brand new, their white marble columns sparkling in the sun. In a nearby sandpit, a dozen high school-age kids and satyrs played volleyball. Canoes glided across a small lake. Kids in bright orange t-shirts like Grover's were chasing each other around a cluster of cabins nestled in the woods. Some shot targets at an archery range. Others rode horses down a wooded trail, and some of their horses had wings. Percy saw down at the end of the porch, two men sat across from each other at a card table. The blonde-haired girl who'd spoon-fed him popcorn-flavored pudding was leaning on the porch rail next to them. Finally, there was Naruto, who was playing a card game with both men. That's Mr. D, Grover murmured to Percy. He's the camp director. Be polite. The girl, that's Annabeth Chase. She's just a camper, but she's been here longer than just about anybody. And you already know Chiron. He pointed at the guy whose back was to him. First, Percy realized he was sitting in the wheelchair. Then he recognized the tweed jacket, the thinning brown hair, the scraggly beard. Mr. Brunner! He cried. Ah, good, Percy, Mr. Brunner said. Now we have 4 for Pinnacle. He offered Percy a chair to the right of Mr. D, who looked at him with bloodshot eyes and heaved a great sigh. Oh, I suppose I must say it. Welcome to Camp Half-Blood. There. Now, don't expect me to be glad to see you, Mr. D said. Thanks. Percy scooted a little farther away from him because, if there was one thing he had learned from living with Gabe, it was how to tell when an adult has hit the happy juice. If Mr. D was a stranger to alcohol, he was a satyr. Annabeth? Chiron called to the blonde girl. She came forward and Mr. Brunner introduced him. This young lady nursed you back to health, Percy. Annabeth, my dear, why don't you go check Percy's bunk? We'll be putting him in cabin 11 with Naruto for now. Annabeth said, sure, Chiron. Percy looked at her. She was probably his age, maybe a couple of inches taller, and a whole lot more athletic looking. With her deep tan and her curly blonde hair, she was almost exactly what he thought a stereotypical California girl would look like, except her eyes ruined the image. They were startling gray, like storm clouds, pretty, but intimidating, too, as if she were analyzing the best way to take him down in a fight. Annabeth glanced at the minotaur horn in Percy's hands, then back at him. Percy imagined she was going to say, you fought with a minotaur. Or wow, you're so awesome. Or something like that. Instead, she said, you drool when you sleep. Percy confused at first until he heard Naruto. I bet you thought she was going to say that you were awesome of something that, he said. Percy asked, wait, what about you? What happened with that? I killed it, for now, Naruto said. Thank you, Percy said. You, work here, Mr. Brunner? Not Mr. Brunner, the Chiron or Mr. Brunner said. I'm afraid that was a pseudonym. You may call me Chiron. Okay. Totally confused, Percy looked at the director. And Mr. D. Does that stand for something? Idiot, Naruto thought. Mr. D stopped shuffling the cards. He looked Percy like he did just belch loudly. Young man, names are powerful things. You don't just go around using them for no reason. Oh, right. Sorry. I must say, Percy, Chiron Brunner broke in, I'm glad to see you alive. It's been a long time since I'd made a house call to a potential camper. I'd hate to think I've wasted my time. House call? My year at Yancey Academy, to instruct you. We have satyrs at most schools, of course, keeping a lookout. But Grover alerted me as soon as he met you and Naruto. He sensed both of you were something special, so I decided to come upstate. I convinced the other Latin teacher to take a leave of absence. Percy tried to remember the beginning of the school year. It seemed like so long ago, but he did have a fuzzy memory of there being another Latin teacher my first week at Yancey. Then, without explanation, he had disappeared and Mr. Brunner had taken the class. "You came to Yancey just to teach me and Naruto?" Percy asked. Chiron nodded. "Honestly, I wasn't sure about you at first. We contacted your mother, let her know we were keeping an eye on you if you were ready for Camp Half-Blood. But you still had so much to learn. Nevertheless, you made it here alive, and that's always the first test." "Well, I had help from Naruto," Percy replied. "We know, and I am glad the both of you made it in pieces," Chiron said. "Naruto," Mr. D said, "your turn." Naruto nodded. "You do know how to play Pinnacle?" Mr. D eyed Percy suspiciously. "I'm afraid not," Percy said. "I'm afraid not, sir." "Sir," Percy repeated. He liked the camp director less and less. Mr. D said, "Then tells me, how did he know?" He pointed at Naruto. "I don't know," Percy said. "Well," Mr. D told Percy, "it is, along with gladiator fighting and Pac-Man, one of the greatest games ever invented by humans. I would expect all civilized young men to know the rules." "I'm sure the boy can learn," Chiron said. "Please," Percy said, "what is this place? What am I doing here?" "Mr. Brunner, Chiron, why would you go to Yancey Academy just to teach me?" Mr. D snorted. "I asked the same question." The camp director dealt the cards. Chiron smiled at Percy sympathetically. "Percy," he said, "did your mother tell you nothing?" She said. Percy remembered her sad eyes, looking out over the sea. "She told me she was afraid to send me here, even though my father had wanted her to. She said that once I was here, I probably couldn't leave. She wanted to keep me close to her." "Typical," Mr. D said. "That's how they usually get killed." "Young man, are you bidding or not?" "What?" Percy asked. Mr. D explained him, impatiently, how you bid in Pinnacle, and so he did. "I'm afraid there's too much to tell," Chiron said. "I'm afraid our usual orientation film won't be enough." "Orientation film?" Percy asked and then rounded on Naruto. "And you don't seem to be surprised by this stuff at all." Naruto shrugged and said, "Well, since I woke up earlier, I was told this already and I told them about the other world and they seem to understand." Percy just blinked at him owlishly. "No," Chiron decided. "Well, Percy. You know your friend Grover is a satyr. You know," he pointed to the horn in the shoebox, "that you fought with the Minotaur. No small feat, either, lad. What you may not know is that great powers are at work in your life. Gods, the forces you call the Greek gods, are very much alive." Percy stared at the others around the table. He waited for somebody to yell, "Not." But all he got was Mr. D yelling, "Oh, a royal marriage. Trick! Trick!" He cackled as he tallied up his points. "Mr. D," Grover asked timidly, "if you're not going to eat it, could I have your Diet Coke can?" "Eh? Oh, all right." Grover bit a huge shard out of the empty aluminum can and chewed it mournfully. "Wait," Percy said to Chiron. "You're telling me there's such a thing as God?" "Well, now," Chiron said. "God, capital G, God. That's a different matter altogether. We will not deal with the metaphysical." "Metaphysical? But you were just talking about, gods, plural, as in, great beings that control the forces of nature and human endeavors, the immortal gods of Olympus." "That's a smaller matter." "Smaller?" "Yes, quite. The gods we discussed in Latin class." "Zeus," Percy said. "Hera, Apollo, you mean them." There it was again, distant thunder on a cloudless day. "Young man," said Mr. D, "I would really be less casual about throwing those names around, if I were you." "But they're stories," Percy said. "They're myths, to explain lightning and the seasons and stuff. They're what people believed before there was science." "Science?" Mr. D scoffed. "And tell me, Perseus Jackson," Percy flinched when he said his real name, "which he never told anybody, what will people think of your science 2,000 years from now?" Mr. D continued. They will call it primitive mambo-jumbo." "That's what?" "Oh, I love mortals, they have absolutely no sense of perspective. They think they've come so far. And have them, Chiron? Look at this boy and tell me. Percy raised a brow at the camp director. The way he called them mortals, it was like he wasn't. He could see why Grover was keeping his mouth shut and his eyes on his cards. Percy, Chiron said, you may choose to believe or not, but the fact is that immortal means immortal. Can you imagine that for a moment, never dying? Never fading? Existing, just as you are, for all time? Lonely, Naruto muttered, and Percy heard him. You mean, whether people believed in you or not, Percy said. Exactly, Chiron agreed. If you were a god, how would you like being called a myth, an old story to explain lightning? What if I told you, Perseus Jackson, that someday people would call you a myth, just created to explain how little boys can get over losing their mothers? Percy said, I wouldn't like it. But I don't believe in gods. Oh, you'd better, Mr. D murmured. Before one of them incinerate you. Grover said, please, sir. He's just lost his mother. He's in shock. A lucky thing, too, Mr. D grumbled, playing a card. Bad enough I'm confined to this miserable job, working with boys who don't even believe. He waved his hand and a goblet appeared on the table, as if the sunlight had bent, momentarily, and woven the air into glass. The goblet filled itself with red wine. Percy's jaw dropped, but Chiron hardly looked up. Mr. D, he warned, your restrictions. Mr. D looked at the wine in feigned surprise. Dear me. He looked at the sky and yelled, old habits. Sorry. More thunder. He waved his hand again, and the wineglass changed into a fresh can of Diet Coke. He sighed unhappily, popped the top of the soda, and went back to his card game. Chiron winked at Percy. Mr. D offended his father a while back, took a fancy to a wood nymph that had been declared off limits. A wood nymph, Percy repeated, who's still staring at the Diet Coke can like it was from outer space. Yes, Mr. D confessed. Father loves to punish me. The first time, prohibition. Ghastly. Absolutely horrid 10 years. The second time, well, she really was pretty, and I couldn't stay away. The second time, he sent me here. Half-Blood Hill. Summer camp for brats like you. Be a better influence, he told me. Work with youths and not tearing them down. Ha! Absolutely unfair. He sounded about 6 years old, like a pouting little kid. And Percy stammered, your father is D Immortals, Chiron, Mr. D said. I thought you taught this boy the basics. My father is Zeus, of course. Percy ran through D names from Greek mythology, wine, the skin of a tiger. The satyrs that all seem to work here. The way Grover cringed, as if Mr. D were his master. You're Dionysus, Percy said. The god of wine. Mr. D rolled his eyes. What do they say, these days, Grover? Do the children say, well, duh? Why yes, Mr. D. Then, well, duh. Percy Jackson. Did you think I was Aphrodite, perhaps? You're a god. Yes, child. A god, you. I think that we all get that fact now. Naruto said, not looking up from his cards. Percy didn't hear him. Are you sure that you're a god? You don't look like one. He said. Mr. D turned to look at Percy straight on, and he saw a kind of purplish fire in his eyes, a hint that this whiny, plump little man was only showing him the tiniest bit of his true nature. He saw visions of grapevines choking unbelievers to death, drunken warriors insane with battle lust, sailors screaming as their hands turned into flippers, their faces elongating into dolphin snouts. Would you like to test me, child? Mr. D said quietly. No. No, sir, Percy said. The fire died a little. Mr. D turned back to his card game. I believe I win. Not quite, Mr. D, Chiron said. He set down a straight, tallied the points, and said, the game goes to me. Actually, Chiron, Naruto said, and set his hand down to show a double roundabout. I win. He said, leaning back. Oh, I think I'm beginning to like this boy Chiron. Mr. D said with a smirk of his own. His statement drew wide eyes from Grover and Chiron. He got up, and Grover rose, too. I'm tired, Mr. D said. I believe I'll take a nap before the sing-along tonight. But first, Grover, we need to talk, again, about your less-than-perfect performance on this assignment. Grover's face beaded with sweat. Why yes, sir. Mr. D turned to me. Cabin 11, Percy Jackson. And mind your manners. Take Naruto with you since he will be going as well. He swept into the farmhouse. Grover follows miserably. Will Grover be okay? Percy asked Chiron. Chiron nodded, though he looked a bit troubled. Old Dionysus isn't really mad. He just hates his job. He's been, grounded, I guess you would say, and he can't stand waiting another century before he's allowed to go back to Olympus. Mount Olympus, Percy said. You're telling me there really is a palace there? Well now, there's Mount Olympus in Greece. And then there's the home of the gods, the convergence points of their powers, which did indeed used to be on Mount Olympus. It's still called Mount Olympus, out of respect to the old ways, but the palace moves, Percy, just as the gods do. You mean the Greek gods are here? Like, in America? Well, certainly. The gods move with the heart of the West. The what? Percy, Naruto spoke. The West means where the major power is in the world. You see, it has moved from Greece, which was at one point of power, then moved to Rome, to Germany, to France, to Spain, for a while. Now America is the great power of the West. And so, Olympus is here. It was all too much for Percy. Who are you, Chiron? Who am I? He asked. Chiron smiled. He shifted his weight as if he were going to get up out of his wheelchair. But it is impossible. He is paralyzed from the waist down, Percy thought. Who are you? Chiron mused. Well, that's the question we all want answered, isn't it? But for now, we should get you a bunk in cabin 11. There will be new friends to meet, and plenty of time for lessons tomorrow. Besides, there will be smokes at the campfire tonight, and I simply adore chocolate. And then he did rise from his wheelchair. But there was something odd about the way he did it. His blanket fell away from his legs, but the legs didn't move. His waist kept getting longer, rising above his belt. At first, I thought he was wearing very long, white velvet underwear, but as he kept rising out of the chair, taller than any man, I realized that the velvet underwear wasn't underwear. It was the front of an animal, muscle and sinew under coarse white fur. And the wheelchair wasn't a chair. It was a container, an enormous box on wheels, and it must have been magic, because there's no way it would have held all of him. A leg came out, long and knock-kneed, with a huge polished hoof. Then another front leg, then hindquarters, and then the box was empty. Nothing but a metal is hell with a couple of fake human legs attached. Percy stared at the horse that had just sprung from the wheelchair, a huge white stallion. But where its neck should be was the upper body of their Latin teacher, smoothly grafted to the horse's trunk. What a relief, the centaur said. I'd been cooped up in there so long, my fetlocks had fallen asleep. Now, come, Percy Jackson. Let's meet the other campers. That's it for this reading. Hit like and subscribe for a free ticket pass going to the different worlds of anime fanfiction. Looking forward to having you on board again.